Chuck Potthast, 911. Call audio reveals son's distress in tragic death. What really happened in the final moments before Chuck Potthast's tragic death? When the 911 call audio was released, it sent shockwaves through fans of 90 Day Fiancé and the reality TV community. The call didn't just reveal the urgency of the situation, it exposed raw fear, confusion, and distress in the voice of Chuck's son during those critical moments. Tonight, we take a closer look at what the 911 call reveals, how Chuck Potthast's family has been coping, and why this heartbreaking audio has reopened emotional wounds for fans who followed the Potthast family for years. This is not just a story about a reality TV star. This is a story about a father, a son, and a family facing an unimaginable loss. Who was Chuck Potthast? Chuck Potthast was best known to audiences as the patriarch of the Potthast family on TLC's 90 Day Fiancé. Viewers watched him navigate complicated family dynamics, business conflicts, and emotional moments with his children, especially his daughter Libby Castrovet and son-in-law Andre. But beyond reality television, Chuck was a father, a businessman, and a deeply involved presence in his children's lives. While the Potthast family often appeared divided on screen, one thing was always clear: family meant everything to Chuck. That's what makes the events surrounding his death so devastating. The day everything changed. On the day of Chuck Potthast's passing, no one could have predicted that an ordinary moment would spiral into a tragedy that would forever alter his family's lives. According to reports, emergency services were called when the Chuck's condition suddenly worsened. What followed was a frantic race against time, one that is now partially preserved in the haunting audio of a 911 call. The release of that call has brought renewed attention to the circumstances surrounding his death, and has forced the public to confront the emotional toll such emergencies take on families in real time. The 911 call, a voice filled with panic. The most striking element of the 911 call is the unmistakable distress in Chuck Potthast's son's voice. Listeners describe the call as emotionally overwhelming, a moment where fear, desperation, and disbelief collide. His son can be heard urgently explaining the situation to the dispatcher, struggling to keep his composure as he tries to answer questions and follow instructions. This was not a rehearsed moment. This was raw, unfiltered fear. For many fans, hearing this audio shattered the illusion created by reality TV. It was no longer about edited scenes or dramatic arguments. It was a real family facing a life-or-death crisis. Dispatcher instructions and desperate moments. Throughout the call, the dispatcher attempts to remain calm, asking critical questions and providing instructions meant to stabilize the situation until paramedics arrive. But the emotional strain is evident. Chuck's son is reportedly overwhelmed, his voice cracking as he tries to process what's happening in front of him while also communicating with emergency services. These moments highlight something many people never consider. During emergencies, loved ones are forced to become first responders while emotionally unprepared. The call captures that painful reality. Why the audio hit fans so hard. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé have followed the Potthast family for years. They've seen arguments, reconciliations, business disputes, and emotional confrontations all packaged for entertainment. But this audio stripped away the cameras, the edits, and the storyline arcs. What remained was a terrified son trying to save his father. For many viewers, the call felt deeply personal, especially for those who have experienced medical emergencies or sudden losses in their own families. The aftermath. A family in grief. After Chuck Potthast's passing, the family entered a period of mourning that played out both privately and publicly. Libby Castrovet later shared emotional messages acknowledging her pain, describing herself as hurting deeply and struggling to process the loss of her father. Other family members expressed grief in quieter ways, choosing to step back from social media and public life. The release of the 911 call reopened wounds that had barely begun to heal. Public reaction and ethical questions. The release of emergency call audio often sparks debate. Some argue it provides transparency and helps clarify timelines. Others feel it invades privacy and exploits grief. In this case, reactions were mixed. Supporters said the audio humanized the family and emphasized the seriousness of sudden medical emergencies. Critics questioned whether such deeply personal moments should ever be made public. What remains undeniable is the emotional weight of hearing a loved one in crisis. Reality TV versus real life. Chuck Potthast's death is a reminder of the fragile line between reality TV and real life. While audiences consume dramatic moments as entertainment, the people behind those moments carry real pain, real fear, and real loss. The 911 call makes it impossible to forget that. It forces viewers to confront the reality that the arguments and conflicts seen on television are just fragments of much larger human lives. A son's distress, the heart of the story. At the center of this story is not fame, controversy, or ratings. It is a son desperately trying to save his father. The distress heard in his voice resonates with anyone who has ever felt powerless in an emergency when time slows down, emotions spiral, and every second feels like an eternity. That is what makes the audio so haunting. How the family is moving forward. In the months following Chuck Potthast's death, the family has focused on healing. Libby and Andre have spoken about prioritizing family and stepping back from negativity. Other siblings have chosen privacy over public statements. Grief does not follow a straight path, and the Potthasts are navigating theirs one day at a time. The 911 call is a snapshot of the worst day of their lives, not the sum of who they are. Why this story matters. This story matters because it reminds us of our shared humanity. Behind every headline is a family. Behind every emergency call is someone terrified of losing a loved one. Behind every public figure is a private life filled with vulnerability. Chuck Potthast may have been a reality TV star, but his death and his son's distress reflect an experience many families know all too well. Final thoughts. A moment of respect. As viewers and listeners, it's important to approach stories like this with compassion. The 911 call is not entertainment. It is a record of fear, love, and desperation. Chuck Potthast's legacy should not be defined by his final moments alone, but by the family he raised and the impact he had on those around him. Outro call to action. If you or someone you love has experienced a medical emergency or sudden loss, know that you are not alone. If this story moved you, consider sharing your thoughts respectfully in comments below. And if you're new here, subscribe for thoughtful, compassionate coverage of reality TV stories told with humanity, not sensationalism. To truly understand why the 911 call audio has resonated so deeply, it's important to carefully walk through the timeline of events surrounding Chuck Potthast's final day. According to available information, Chuck had not publicly shown signs that would suggest such a sudden medical emergency. Friends and family believed he was continuing life as usual, involved in business, connected with his children, and maintaining his role as the family anchor. Then, without warning, everything changed. The emergency unfolded quickly, leaving little time for preparation or emotional processing. That sense of suddenness is exactly what comes through in the 911 call, a family caught completely off guard. The psychology of panic in emergency calls. Experts often explain that 911 calls reveal more than facts, they reveal the human mind under extreme stress. When Chuck's son made the call, his brain was processing multiple things at once: fear of losing his father, confusion about what was happening medically, pressure to follow instructions correctly, the overwhelming realization that time might be running out. This is why his voice reportedly sounds strained and urgent. Panic does not mean weakness. It means the stakes are impossibly high. For listeners, that panic is contagious, and that's why the audio is so difficult to hear. When time feels different, one chilling aspect of emergency situations is how time seems to distort. Seconds feel like minutes. Minutes feel unbearable. In the call, Chuck's son is forced to stay on the line, answering questions and following directions, while emotionally wanting to do everything at once. For families who have lived through similar moments, this part of the story hits especially hard. The waiting, the uncertainty, the fear that help might not arrive fast enough. The arrival of first responders. When paramedics finally arrived, they took over the situation with professional urgency. But even in those moments, families often know deep down when something is terribly wrong. Although emergency teams are trained to remain calm and focused, loved ones can sense when outcomes are uncertain. For the Potthast family, this marked the beginning of a new reality, one they never asked for and could not prepare for. The moment that changed everything. Chuck Potthast's death was not just a loss, it was a rupture. A father was gone. A family pillar disappeared. A future suddenly looked different. The 911 call now stands as the dividing line between before and after. Before the call, Chuck was alive. After it, nothing would ever be the same. Libby Castrovet's grief in the public eye. As Chuck's daughter and a longtime reality TV personality, Libby Castrovet faced a unique burden, grieving while being watched. In emotional posts following her father's passing, Libby expressed that she was deeply hurting, even when trying to stay strong for her own children. Grief does not disappear because cameras turn off. If anything, public attention can make it heavier. The release of the 911 call reopened that grief, reminding her and the entire family of the most terrifying moments of their lives. Siblings and silent pain. While Libby's grief was more visible, Chuck's other children processed the loss in quieter ways. Some stepped away from social media, some avoided interviews, some leaned on private support systems rather than public sympathy. This silence should not be mistaken for lack of pain. Grief is deeply personal, and not everyone mourns in the same way. Andrei's role during the crisis. Andrei Castrovet has often been portrayed as outspoken and confrontational on 90 Day Fiancé. But during this tragedy, he reportedly shifted focus entirely to supporting Libby and the family. Loss has a way of stripping away ego and conflict, leaving only what truly matters. For the Potthast family, Chuck's death temporarily dissolved old arguments and replaced them with shared sorrow. The ethical dilemma of sharing 911 audio. One of the biggest conversations surrounding this story centers on ethics. Should 911 calls be released? Should the public hear the most vulnerable moments of someone's life? Where is the line between transparency and exploitation? In Chuck Potthast's case, the call reveals no scandal, no wrongdoing, only pain. That raises an even harder question. If there is nothing to expose, why does the audio exist publicly at all? For some, it's a reminder of mortality. For others, it feels like a violation. Why people can't stop listening. Despite the discomfort, many people feel compelled to listen. Psychologists suggest that humans are drawn to real emotion, especially fear and love, because it mirrors our own experiences. Listeners don't hear a reality star's son. They hear themselves, their sibling, their child, their worst nightmare. That's why the audio lingers in the mind long after it ends. A father's legacy beyond television, Chuck Potthast will be remembered for more than his final moments. He was a provider, a flawed but loving father, a man who tried sometimes imperfectly to hold his family together. Reality TV captured only pieces of who he was. The real legacy lives in his children, his grandchildren, and the memories that cameras never recorded. The long road of grief. Grief doesn't end with funerals or public statements. It resurfaces unexpectedly, on birthdays, on holidays, in quiet moments. And sometimes, when a 911 call is released, for the Potthast family, healing is ongoing. There is no finish line. What this story teaches us. This tragedy reminds us of several uncomfortable truths. Life is fragile. Emergencies don't give warnings. Love becomes loudest in moments of fear. And no amount of fame can protect a family from loss. Pause for reflection. Before continuing, it's worth pausing not as viewers, but as people. If you heard that call, imagine making it yourself. Imagine your voice breaking. Imagine hoping someone on the other end of the line can save the person you love most. That is the heart of this story.